Hi,
Hey,
hi.
happy Monday.
How are we doing today?
I'm excited. I'm excited for the temperature today.
Yes,
90 something. I forgot what you said. 91?
I usually forget until the graphic pops up anyways, too. We should
Yeah.
mention that Deanna's in for Amy here today. Deanna's always good to chat with you.
Hello.
Hope you all
hmm
had a good weekend. The weather, you're right, was spectacular. This has kind of been the pattern the last couple of weeks where we have a cool weekend and then we pop right
Wow.
back up to start the week. There's downtown. Zoom out. I think we're going to be able to pan to the left just a little bit and show you Grant Park in the downtown area. Green on the ground and blue in the sky. Some passing clouds here or there. It's going to be a hot one here today, but we don't have the humidity. So a lot of times when you see 90 as a high temperature, it's a harbinger of humid weather to come, but not today. 91 and kind of a dry heat. So it'll feel real good out there, although much hotter than over the weekend. Just one note, that 5:15 sunrise, we're not quite to the solstice yet, but the sunrise only gets about 30 seconds earlier than it does right now or did today. So we're about at our earliest sunrise of the year. 7-day forecast shows big changes ahead. Tropical storm Cristobal, now a depression moving north as it made landfall across Louisiana, moving to the north. And it will actually impact our area. It's going to pick up speed and hit pretty much the western part of the state in Iowa, but we'll get some remnants of some storms and rain and wind Tuesday through Wednesday. We're looking at wind gusts Tuesday to Wednesday up to 50 miles an hour as we're on the eastern side of the storms. Once it passes through and gets into Canada, we are left with nice, comfortable, even chilly air for the end of the week and the start of the weekend, but abundant sunshine. Which is certainly some good news here. So hot today, the storm comes through Tuesday to Wednesday, and then we are left with great weather in its wake.
Okay, I'm certainly looking forward to all of that. It's just when I see 90, that's beach weather. And we can't
Yes.
even go to the beach yet.
No, that you can't. Don't make anyone go out to that beach yet.
I
Indiana, you can
know.
go, but not
Indiana, I was going
Illinois.
to say Indiana Dunes is not too far. When I see not too humid, now that is a whole mood changer, okay? Now I can go outside with my straight hair. Now we have no issues.
Girl,
Yeah. You,
your hair looks so cute, wavy, and curly anyway. I wouldn't even worry about it.
oh, thanks, Felicia. That's kind of you to say.
Okay, guys, let's ease on into this Monday. We got Jonathan Swain joining us. He's a local businessman. His family owns Kimbark Beverages. They've owned Kimbark Beverages since the 70s. And in Hyde Park, it's on 53rd Street. Some of you may have been there. And they actually got hit by some of the riots and looting that's been going on in our community. But Jonathan Swain, he is here with an inspirational message. Hey, Jonathan, how's it going?
Hey, how are you
Morning.
this morning?
We're
Hello.
doing good. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for having me.
So tell us what happened. They broke the windows in your business on 53rd Street, and how much did they take?
Yeah, so I think it was Sunday morning, about 1:30 a.m. I didn't find out till later, but some about 20 folks, 10 cars rolled up in our parking lot. 20 guys got out, busted into the front of the store. Yeah, you see the picture there, and went around and stole a lot of high-end merchandise, high-end product, cash, destroyed cash registers. They didn't. Admittedly, they didn't tear us up like they did a lot of other stores in the city, but the damage is still significant nonetheless. I wouldn't necessarily say this is tied to looting or protesting. These were guys who just decided to take the advantage of police being deployed elsewhere and destroy property and steal in our neighborhood. I mean, they hit a lot of cell phone stores and other stuff too. So,
I got a
um,
question. I know
yeah.
that, and feel free to answer however you want, but do companies have, do like businesses have insurance for this sort of stuff? Like, are you covered at all for any of these eventualities? I'm always curious about that.
Yeah. So businesses can't buy insurance for this type of stuff, right? And you have to look very carefully at your policy because some policies have what they call riot exclusions,
Mhm.
where civil unrest is not covered under the policy. Thankfully, I
Oh,
don't have that. But secondarily, insurance is expensive, right? And people do not necessarily want to pay for something that they don't are not readily seeing the benefit of. And so people oftentimes, and a lot of business owners do this, they'll have the minimum they need to have on liability coverage and then skimp on the property coverage. Well, liability is not covering you here; it's property that's covering you here. So you'll probably see a lot of business owners being challenged because they might not have had enough to cover them for the losses that they've had.
Yeah, Jonathan, obviously we are in phase 3 right now. We can expect more people gathering a little bit more comfortably. We can expect everyone out and about. And I'm assuming this kind of set you back a little bit, not only not being able to reopen, but just having the resources, the tools that you would normally have during the summertime as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it set us back significantly. I mean, I can't count the number of people that have just in the past 3 days that have just pulled up hoping that we were open to do some business, right? But you know, at the end of the day, I get it, I understand it. We're in a special time in our city, in our country, and you know, I don't want to focus on what I personally lost. My thing is really focusing on what we can do with this moment to move our country forward and move our city forward. So that's kind of it's where I'm keeping my eye, at least. All the other stuff, we'll make it up. We've had a lot of outpouring of support from the community. I mean, it's far beyond I could ever think or imagine. So we're excited about when we open, but we just want to stay focused on what we need to stay focused on right now.
Yeah, let's talk more about that, because I was like, oh, we got to have Jonathan on, because I saw you posting videos on social media, and it was just like, wow, look at the amazing resolve that he has. This is a time where you could have chosen to be defeated, but you were like, we have a bigger conversation to have right now, and it's not about me. We're going to be able to rebuild and reopen. Where is that coming from? And let's dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah, a lot of that, it comes from a couple places. I think one of it comes from my faith. God is really important to me, and God drives kind of all of how I think and the lens through which I look at life. And so I think one, it starts there. Two, I think it comes from my parents who gave me a proper perspective on what's important. I mean, things are not that important. People are what's most important. And as long as you keep that first, you'll be okay. And I think thirdly, it comes from some of the time I've spent. I worked for Father Flager at St. Sabina for a long time. I've done other work in the community and really kind of got a sense of a real passion for justice and understanding that, sometimes there's certain things to be born, or say, let's take kids, for example. For a child to be born, pain's going to be involved, period. So just understand that, this is a birthing time for America. And so it's going to be painful. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be nasty. But, we have to go through it to get the benefit of the baby that's being born out of this experience.
What's your schedule like for reopening and getting back open?
So that's very interesting, because we're scheduling. We're trying to open by Thursday of this week, but all my cash registers were destroyed. Well, not all of them, but we've been able to piece together one, but one's not enough to operate our business. So we've ordered new cash registers, cash drawers, screens, touch screens, and the like. But unfortunately, FedEx is not delivering to the south and west side of Chicago right now. So all the things that I need to open my business are being shipped back by FedEx to the supplier, and we're not able to get them. So we're trying to figure that out right now. But it's just another indication that a lot of people talking about they stand with the Black community and they stand with the community. Their words are meaningless if their actions are not tied to it. And to me, this is a prime example of that. I mean, as I recall, there was a lot of things going on downtown too, but yet deliveries are being made downtown. So
have they told you why they're not delivering to the south and west sides?
Well, if you go on their website, they have certain places where they're delivering slower because of the pandemic, and then certain places they're not delivering because of the because of the civil unrest. And they list a number of zip codes: 60615, 60616, 60637, 60644, south and west side neighborhoods.
Jonathan, quick question on that south and west side neighborhoods, because I know a lot of community members, specifically, I went to South Shore not too long ago, and everyone was kind of sharing their fear of businesses not wanting to reopen or even bring new businesses to those areas. Now, as we know, that's a very struggling part of Chicago, where businesses as it is aren't necessarily, there aren't many brick and mortars there for new businesses. What can we do to continue, before the looting happened? It seems like we were making some progress, right? And now it seems like we're at like a halt almost.
Yeah, I think that's a conversation that we need to have with our elected officials and corporate CEOs, as they're asking us, what is it that we can do to help the community? Part of what we have to say is you need to stay in the community. I mean, when you think about the Black community and the amount of money the Black community puts into the economy, these stores are profitable, right? I mean, they're not going to tell you that, but these stores are profitable. And so if they're making money and they're making profit, then they should want to come back and stay in the community. But I think that's a larger conversation that has to be done through elected officials, conversations with the mayor, the governor, other folks to talk to encourage these corporations to say, hey, you don't need to withdraw from the community at this point. You really need to be pouring into the community.
So kind of expanding the conversation out a little bit, you also are organizer of Hyde Park Brew Fest, which is a staple of Chicago suburb in recent years. I have had a number of good times there. You were just telling us that it's postponed this year.
Yeah, so we initially this year we're going to change the name from the Hyde Park Brew Fest to the Hyde Park Summer Fest because the event has gone beyond just beer, and its craft beer has had its own challenges in the marketplace. We thought, let's change the name to really embrace all that this event has come to be: music, food, beer, just a good time of people coming together on the South Side. So we were going to have it, and then the pandemic happened. And when the pandemic happened, that just kind of had us in a wait and see kind of mode. And because I don't think none of us have really experienced what this was going to be. And then you get to a point where you're like, this isn't going to happen. So we initially postponed to August, and then we just eventually canceled it and said, we'll just go back at it next year. So we're excited about 2021, first weekend in June. We think it's going to be a real good time, especially considering people haven't been able to be out and doing festivals for probably 2 years at that point.
Okay, first weekend in June. I'm putting it on my calendar. I will be there. It is set.
I feel like next spring and summer is going to be lit for everybody, assuming we got this vaccine. I used to be like, neighborhood festivals, I'll be at every single one.
I'm going to all 77 neighborhoods. If they don't have a fest, we're going to make a fest.
And my hope is that the same spirit that's come out of this gathering around protesting and coming together, you'll start to see that in Chicago neighborhood festivals. Because how many of us stick in our own neighborhoods to go to a festival, right? If I'm on the north side, I stay north. If I'm on the south side, I stay south. Maybe you'll start seeing a little of that crossing over and people experiencing all of Chicago.
Yeah.
Link Scholars, I bet we've talked about this organization a couple different times, but I wanted to just kind of point out how important that is now more than ever to connect African-American Black youth with leaders of the future and continue to build those relationships. Yeah, so Link Scholars is a program that I'm the CEO of as well. I was a scholar some 20, 30 years ago, whatever it was. And so I've come back to be served on the board and also be CEO of the organization. And so what we do is we have like a 4-year fellowship program where we take students coming out of 8th grade and we walk with them through the 4 years of high school, to make sure that they have all the preparation they need to get into college and also graduate college. Because what data will show you is that African Americans attend college pretty much on the same rate as all other Americans, but they graduate at a lower rate. So we want to make sure that those kids are prepared to finishing college in 4 to 6 years, which involves making sure the academic rigor is there, making sure they have academic strength, and making sure that they're matched with appropriate college that's going to help get them through the 4 years.
That's really cool. Now things are slowly going to normality, or at least what we think is normal. Now, have those resources, to be able to get those resources and the ability to obtain those resources, has it changed? Can we see a little bit more of a social media presence, or perhaps more Zoom interviews or Skype calls, anything like that?
Yeah, it's still up in the air as to what college is going to look like and college access is going to look like going forward. I mean, you see that there was initial talk about the SAT and ACT being done at home, and now there's conversation saying we're not going to do that. Certain states are saying we're not going to look at the SAT this year. Then there's the question about grades and how do you compare grades from one state to another state. So there's a lot of different conversations that are going on right now and trying to figure it out. Most of college selection and college decision making is going to be through this kind of vehicle. Hopefully, as we move into the fall, people will be able to visit colleges. I know my own son who's going to Emory University next year. He wasn't able to visit, so he had to do it kind of sight unseen. But I think at the end of the day, our students we serve in our community are really resilient, and this will just be a little stepping stone as they move on toward the greatness that they have on side of them.
Hmm. I have to tell you, I do want to hear your perspective because I am so cautiously optimistic. I love what I'm seeing in the community. We're having such pivotal conversations that are really, I think, having a positive effect. We have so many people talking about supporting Black businesses and posting things online, and I just want this to become a lifestyle and not just something that's trending right now. Do you think that I don't want to lose this momentum. Do you think that we will be able to sustain this? At least I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I think it's a real question. I do think that people are saying this moment is a lot different, and I think this moment is I've been describing it as a wound, right? So America's had this wound that is kind of bound up for years. It's covered over. It's put a bandage around it. It's bled. It's gotten infected, and in order to get the infection out, you got to go to the depth of the wound. And you could stay at the top and try to clean it up, but that's not going to clean up the infection at the bottom. And I think what we're doing today, as you see it, how it's going around the world, and the instances that have happened, I think we're getting to the bottom of the wound and really getting the infection out. Now, does that mean everybody's going to be on board with it? No, but I think that there are more people that are with us than are against us. And so the question becomes, how do we keep that group moving forward, being inspired and still walking together as we move forward in our year and our society and the like?
I feel like this moment is different than other ones, and that's just speaking also just to seeing where protests are happening. Wheaton, Illinois, Downers Grove, Park Forest, Park Ridge. I mean, neighborhoods that are predominantly white, and I've been seeing a lot of people that we say, okay, boomer to, friends and family, up with Black Lives Matter signs. I think that something has, and like, that's what it's gonna take. It can't just be certain neighborhoods of the city. It's gotta be all of us at least starting a conversation that should have started a long time ago, but at least more people are engaged right now.
You're absolutely right. I think, if you were liking it to a point in time in history, this was our Bloody Sunday, right? Bloody Sunday was that moment on the Edmund Pettus Bridge where you always see, protesters get knocked over, and John Lewis got his skull cracked or fractured rather while he was there, and all of America saw it and galvanized around that moment. And I think this is that same moment. It's not just about America, it's about the world, because anti-Black racism isn't just an American problem, it is a world problem. I mean, if you think about it, the anti-Black racism that drove slavery did not start in America. It started in Europe, it started in the European countries, and it spread to America. So I think this is it's a special moment in our history. And I think I'm excited about it. I mean, it's ugly, it's nasty, it's horrific right now, but I'm excited about what's going to come out of this. I think we'll be much better for it going forward.
Yeah, Jonathan, we have seen Black and brown come up in multiple conversations, whether it's social media, whether it's the news. And we've seen even last weekend kind of clashing, right? We've had those two groups clashing together, whether it was gang related or violence related. Right. Now we're seeing a little bit more of unity. But that's so interesting to me, because we walk with the Black community, right? Like the brown community walks with the Black community. And it's so hard to have to explain that over and over again.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when you think about division just does not have one face, right? Division has a lot of faces, and that could be, anti-Asian racism. It could be anti-Black racism. It could be anti-Latino racism. There's a lot of different ways that it shows itself, right? But at the core, it's division, and I think what this moment is also doing, beyond dealing with the Black-white issue, is forcing us to have to deal with other divisions in our society, right? We're starting to talk about this question of the Black and brown connection, and what does that really mean? And we talk about racism against Asians and what that really means. So it's the conversation is centering, as it should be, around Blacks in America and Blacks generally. But I think it's going to spread. It's the catalyst to really get rid of this kind of disease that we're talking about, which really is rooted in division more than anything else.
I'm thinking about just the unity that we see amongst Black businesses, and I would like to, of course, see more of that going forward, particularly when we're talking to our city leaders, when we're talking to city council and the mayor. This is a perfect example right now how we are in the reopening phase, and we know that Black businesses on the South and the West sides are not given the same opportunities as other ones, particularly the restaurant business, for example. We've talked about people having patios and things downtown down in River North.
Right.
So if you're in the 30s and the 40s, you might not have access to a sidewalk. And if you do, it might not be safe enough to have access to be eating outside on that sidewalk. And so there's so many other disparities. And like you're saying with FedEx, you're trying to get your delivery. They're not delivering for whatever reason they would like to give. They're not delivering to the south and the west sides of the city. Like, it's so many other hurdles that Black business folk have to overcome in order to just exist. I would like to see more unity there. Do you think and unity in getting that message out to the city leaders and getting action behind it? Do you feel like that unity is there for Chicago, or do you feel like it needs to increase or has increased? Where do you think we stand?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of groups out here that have been talking about supporting Black business for a while. You have Black People Eats, Chicago Black Restaurant Week. You have SIB's Breakfast Club. You have a lot of folks out here that have been trying to bring attention to supporting Black business. And this has been kind of the accelerant, if you will, to kind of galvanize that. I mean, some guys from the neighborhood who grew up in the neighborhood, who graffiti writers, came and wrote on our wooden planks just yesterday, Black business matters. And it really, really does. And so I think as a part of this conversation, as we get beyond the conversation about policing and start talking about income inequality and wealth inequality in the Black community, we'll start really having a real dialogue around, why is it that Black business is struggling in America? What is struggling in America? Because business is built from wealth. And when white wealth is 10 times that of Black wealth, and that wealth is what's used to secure bank loans, why do you think the Black businesses are struggling? It's difficult to piece together the dollars to start a business. And if your friends and family don't have the wealth either, like some other communities do, we're put in more challenged positions. So I think we're going to start having a real conversation about equity, capital flowing in the community, because the truth of the matter is, it's a racist idea to think that just because of the color of your skin, you don't have the ability to read a P&L, right? Okay, it's math. That's all it is. And so I think you're going to start seeing a lot of folks starting to look at how can we start investing in these businesses, putting real capital behind these businesses, and figuring out how we can grow some of them to scale so that we can see the kind of wealth creation that we're looking for.
Because remember, we were just having this conversation with the marijuana industry before all of this pandemic happened. And, January 1 came along, and here we are trying to play catch up. And it's like, there's so much, like, we can't just all of a sudden make that industry equitable. It has been, it has been a countless other opportunities, to do that and it hasn't happened. Like, it doesn't happen now that weed is legal January 1.
Right. And we have to start looking at and holding our legislators accountable as business owners to say, let's start crafting legislation that works. I mean, when you think about MBE legislation, minority business enterprise legislation, there's certain constriction there's certain constructs in that legislation that really prevent business from growing. If you grow too big and you don't have all your wealth in your house and you put it in particular areas, then you can't be an MBE enterprise anymore, but yet you're still not ready to compete on the larger scale with some of the larger companies. So I think there's a policy conversation that's going to need to come out of this for us to really figure out what are the things that we need to make sure that Black business thrives and Black business is strong. I mean, thankfully, I was born out in the 70s. My father was a business owner and I saw a lot of it. So I'm pretty excited about what we're going to see going forward, because I think there's a playbook. We just have to tap into it.
And when it comes to business, I trust you, Jonathan, because you got like a fax scan printer machine behind you. No, it's real. That's industrial strength. That's a businessman's printer.
No, that's just, excuse me, that's what they call artwork. That's all.
Yeah. He's in his headquarters.
Yeah. I got to ask you, Jonathan, you work with Link Scholars, and this movement, like many others, while it has people of all ages a part of it, and that's key, is really a youth-led, youth-inspired movement in many ways, like many movements in the past. Your conversations with the young leaders of tomorrow must inspire you in terms of what's coming up next for future generations.
It does. It does. We were on a call not long ago with some of our Schmidt Scholars, which is a special scholarship that we have in the program. And I was so inspired by their leadership. They were supposed to, as a part of their participation, create service projects in neighborhoods around the city. And to hear them approach leadership from a place of listening, not acting and not going top down, but really looking bottom up, it just really, it just gave me a lot of hope for the future. And in my message to them when I was giving out a message about George Floyd, I said to them, hey, you guys are the future, right? You're the ones that don't carry this banner. You are the ones that are going to lead us through this and make sure that the change that is happening today is fully sustainable and fully cemented in our society. So I'm really excited about that.
And Jonathan, that's a really important point that you bring up. My brother's a junior in high school. And right now, like you said, essays, SATs, ACTs, all that may not necessarily be taken into consideration in certain states. So what these scholars and students have to do is above and beyond, right?
Yep.
Some community service, some initiative, reaching out to classmates who perhaps haven't had online classes. I mean, there's so many other things that you can do, but you have to have initiative. And that's what's going to make you stand out on college applications, where before perhaps you'd be like, oh, I got, a high score on this exam.
Absolutely. And it's not only just initiative, it's also making sure that you have the opportunity, right? Because a lot of schools are going to look at your, how many AP classes did you take? How many honors classes did you take? If you had them available, did you take them? And so if there are certain schools where, Black students, don't take as many AP classes as other students, right? So when the opportunity is available, we have to be able to take advantage of that. And so that's the first step. But then when it's available, making sure, like you said, have the initiative to go out here and to really, grab the bull by the horns, if you will, and do the things you need to do. So.
Are there a couple business organizations that stand out to you that we need to be looking at being a part of?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I wouldn't say necessarily being a part of. What I would say is supporting. I think Black People Eats is a they have a presence online that are talking a lot about Black restaurant tours right now. I think that's one group folks should really be taking a look at. Sib's Breakfast Club, like I mentioned, Sybil Holloway has been doing this for about 12 years, highlighting Black-owned businesses in the city, and she has a great database of learning about opportunities within the context of Black-owned businesses. So I think she's another example of what should be of an organization to be a part of and participate with. And there are other organizations out there, and I think as we grow as a community and a business community, there will be things like the Business Leadership Council, that's kind of the higher end businesses and large construction companies. And then you have other organizations and local chambers that are handling kind of the smaller mom and pop type businesses. So there's a lot out there. We just kind of got to go out and find it. But I would say right today, it's important to support the restaurateurs because as they're coming online, they're really going to need our help.
I think there's a lot to be said for your message of when you saw the broken glass in your building and in your store and recognize that it's part of the wound, I guess you could say, right? The opening up of it. As we wrap things up today, your message to people out there that kind of struggle back and forth, and there's going to be tough times ahead still through this movement. How do we find that strength to carry on?
Well, I think we have to understand that we didn't get here in this moment, and that George Floyd, as horrific as it was a wick that lit a powder keg that was full of decades upon decades of structural racism, of racial inequality, of income inequality, and understand that, this has been part and parcel of the American experience for Black people for a long time. So as we start to look at how people express their frustration, we're going to make his death null and void if we don't look at trying to eliminate the cause of the frustration. And so let's keep our eye on the ball to make sure that we're focused on eliminating all the things that have made people protest and riot and even loot and commit crime. They're all rooted in the same inequality. So let's make sure that we're keeping an eye on that ball, fixing those problems, and I think we'll be better off.
Okay, Jonathan. I mean, you said it all right there. There's nothing else to say. No, thank you so much for keeping it real, for sharing your experiences, certainly. And then also, I think you are certainly an example and encouragement to all of us to serve the community, be a part of the community, own businesses in the community, serve the community is what we all need to be doing right now. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks, you guys.
Take care. Fax out some documents now, Jonathan.
There you go.
Fax me a check. Send me a check. Get it out. Send it my way.
There's the address to Kimbark Beverage Shop, 1214 East 53rd in the Hyde Park neighborhood. And Jonathan does a lot more than that, too. But thanks, John. Have a good one, okay?
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Speaking about printers, I think I've had my printer for like 15 years and it's had ink once. So
Yeah,
don't
this is
really
the
know.
first time I actually wanted a printer. I don't have one, but
I know, right?
whether it's notes for the show or other things, I'm like, gosh, I keep on having to go over to FedEx. I'm like, oh man.
I know these iPads only go so far. Before we bring in our next guest, I need to get this shadow. It's been bothering me
All
since
right.
I don't
Okay.
know how to do it.
Well, you work on that. I
This is
will
it.
talk about Heroes of Chicago, which is a great initiative we got going on. Thousands of healthcare workers in the area, millions across the country putting their lives on the line to help contain and cure the COVID-19 pandemic. And not only that, we've got grocery store clerks, small business owners, truck drivers, people that are still making things run, and a lot now after, of course, all these protests too, keeping our cities safe. Heroes of Chicago are a group that we are helping to honor. So please, if you know someone, there's so many everyday heroes. Email us at jamreelshai@wciu.com, and please let us know who the heroes in your lives are, because we would like to continue to share them on our show.
Okay, let's check in with Deanna.
Is it gone? Is it better?
I'm not sure, but I thought you looked good before, and you look great to me now.
You know what? Let's go ahead. Let's bring in Andrew Coleman Smith. You guys may know him from his weekly YouTube series, Fat Tuesdays. Andrew, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are y'all doing?
Hey.
You got some fancy blue light behind you.
You know, I do YouTube videos, so I've got some gear laying around.
Well,
So
Deanna
thought
needs
I'd break it out.
I was gonna say, I'm trying to get this shadow out of the shot, and you are outshining me with the blue light. Let's just get into the interview. How about that?
Okay.
So a lot of people have been taking maybe at-home workouts a little more serious, but also there's maybe a bigger struggle with even having the motivation to work out. So tell me a little bit about your story and how you got motivated.
Yeah. So I document my YouTube series is called Fat Tuesday. So I document my journey to be a fitness person and to be not fat. I'm working on that. And through posting my videos, the Fat Tuesday fam has formed, and it is solely because of that group of people that I am working out during quarantine at all. We do Zoom workouts, which has completely saved the day. I have a coach, Coach Vinny, he leads them. And so I've been doing a little bit of that, but I also at the beginning, I experimented with some like Zumba classes, like online, which was more just me kind of like freestyling the workout. It wasn't really, I don't think I was technically doing Zumba, but yeah, I'm trying my best. And that's kind of what I do on my YouTube series is I show really everything. So I show all the ups and the downs and the fast food and then the kind of healthy food and everything else. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And the quarantine situation really revved up the desire to really try to get fit, because I'm gaining a little bit of weight on this quarantine and I'm about to have to go back to work. And, I don't know what's going to fit me yet. I haven't really tried everything on yet. So we'll see. But, crunch time. No pun intended.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Have you seen a lot more engagement from people in terms of while they're going through this? Because I think that while we all have a healthy discussion and we love to try and stay healthy during normal times, I think everyone right now is, at least a lot of people are trying to focus on this right now. Have you noticed an uptick in your engagement and reaction to what you do?
I think so. I think people are looking for other people that feel the same way that they do and kind of are going through the same thing that they're going through. And that's kind of what we do on my channel. So I think there has been that kind of, we're all in this together type of feeling. I think at the top of the year, we were all motivated and then the floor dropped out on us. So we're all kind of banding together to pull each other across the finish line. So I would definitely think that there's a lift of people being interested in doing this together as opposed to doing it by yourself.
Have you tracked your progress? Do you know how much you've lost so far?
So I don't use scales because I think like bathroom scales I don't think they tell anything,
Mm-hmm.
So I go by pictures and I go by how I look. And I do a lot of videos, so I see myself a lot. And I've noticed my face is slimming down a little bit and my shirts are starting to fit a little bit better. I go by that stuff because that's really all I care about anyways. So.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Don't do more than what you have to do. How do you look? How do you feel? And then how do your clothes fit? And then this hair, you have this perfect coif up here. I feel like that just stays there.
I brushed it for you all. If you watch any of my videos, it's usually kind of like all over the place. So I really tried today. So I appreciate you saying that.
Hey, Andrew, you talked about something really important as well. You said, obviously, you work out in a community and you feel like you aren't doing it by yourself, but also family members, people in your household, right? you can drag them along, be like, hey, we're doing this right now, today. I don't know if we have the video actually that we can show of you and your wife dancing all crazy, but how has that experience been? I'm sure that there's a lot more bonding time.
Yes, absolutely. My wife had no idea that, I don't think she knew that like the videos were going to be playing, but I was recording, and we were trying our best to dance, and we had a really good time, honestly. And she doesn't really have a typical fitness routine. So in some ways, the quarantine has kind of gotten her to kind of, experiment a little bit more, I guess you can say, with exercise. So it was kind of fun for us to do this together for once. Maybe we'll go to like a regular group fitness class together after this.
Your dogs seem very engaged right now.
Very engaged. They have no idea what's happening, but they love it. They love that we're here. They love to just watch whatever we're doing. But they're basset hounds, so they don't do a lot of activity anyways. So there's not.
What's funny is, we for years on our show, we always do segments or how people can work out from home and like silly things you can use around the house to work out. And I gotta say, I used to roll my eyes at all of these sort of segments. Boy, for the people that paid attention, that has come in handy. Curling up the laundry detergent. I mean, there's a lot of things in our house that can provide that resistance.
Absolutely. No, I have so many regrets for not building a home gym and relying on an outside gym. I'm doing that. I'm using like literal Gain, which is like, kind of funny that I'm using Gains,
right.
Gain, whatever. Laundry detergent.
Gain smells really good.
Right, exactly. I'm hoping it's not going to spill on my carpet one of these days when I'm lifting them, but
If you don't drop it, then you don't have that problem.
True. True. Good point.
We had one of our commenters on Facebook, Sean, he says, I put on my summer shorts and the button burst. I think a lot of us will be going through that. I think that the hard thing, and maybe you could allude to this, Andrew, is that even if that happens, that can be that can often be a detractor, right? Like, oh God, I'm so far behind. You got to start no matter what somewhere, even if you've gained that weight, and use that as motivation as opposed to just as a detraction. I don't know the word I'm trying to say, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think it's a good idea to have a shirt or something that is maybe in your goal size that you can have in your closet that you're like, I'm going to get in that shirt. It's my favorite shirt, or I'm going to get back in that shirt. And I think it's good to have those pieces that you can, because like I said, I don't like to use scales. So this is kind of a good way for you to see something measurable that you can tangibly touch, that that you've hit your goal. So yeah, I do think you can flip it in your mind.
So are you doing anything with diet as well? I mean, let's just really dive in here, because I know you're doing crazy workouts. How's that going? I know. Okay, I take the question back. The question's off the table.
Yeah. I love Uber Eats, if that tells you anything.
It's tough, but it's normally difficult. But now in quarantine, I mean, you want the food that makes you happy and feels good. You want the pizza from here and there.
Yeah. And you want the chicken nuggets and the fries. That's like my favorite thing in the entire world. And it's just been so easy to order it. And I have to stop ordering it. I'm going to commit to you all that I'm going to not eat that this week. That's my,
but it's okay to have cheat days. Like you said, sometimes you want that, right? I was at a friend's birthday party. It was only 10 of us. Okay, calm down. People that are going to be like, hey, you're not supposed to be partying. Anyway. And I was like, guys, I'm really trying to take this seriously. And one of my girlfriends is like, okay, we're all going through it. There's this whole protest happening internationally. There is a pandemic going on. I mean, you have to give yourself that room to breathe, right? I'm not saying go crazy and eat chicken nuggets every day, but you can have ice cream for dinner 3 times a week.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think I don't have a ton of self-control, so I trust me, I get my cheat days in. You don't have to worry about that with me.
I found another video you did with your dog. I mean, this is me here on the ground, and that's my face exactly, because my husband.
Yeah, that's me on the floor trying to breathe.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But the point is, you're just getting up and you're moving. That's the point. Like, whether you're just dancing in place, like you're moving and getting off the couch and getting your heart rate up. That's the point.
Absolutely. That's what my Orange Theory coach, Vinny, who actually is leading these workouts on Zoom that we do with the Fat Tuesday fam. That's what he says. And I think it's so important. He said it like, get your mind out of, I've got to burn like the same amount of calories that I burned in like, say, an Orange Theory class. It's like, it's just about moving your body, and it's about being grateful and thankful that you can move your body. And I think that's where it goes back to that mindset. Like when you had the shorts that you want to get into, or the shirt, it goes back to your mindset and keeping that in check and thinking, I'm grateful that I can move and dance and look ridiculous in my living room and burn calories if I do, and if I don't, whatever, I'm moving. I think that is like, that's the main thing. And I think that that's such an inspirational message.
We did you ever expect this to be as nationally popular as it was? I mean, you're on with our good friend Tamron Hall just recently. I mean, this is big stuff.
Yeah, I that was mind blowing. This is mind blowing. I was not expecting any of that. I was just documenting my journey, and then I think people see themselves in my videos because I'm just kind of like a regular dude. I'm not a fitness expert. I'm just trying to be a fitness person, and so I think that it kind of grew from there, and it's kind of like wildfire. I don't understand it, but I love it.
Yeah.
Andrew, switching gears. Oh, go ahead, Felicia.
One of your more recent videos is entitled "Dear My Fellow White People."
Right.
You decided to speak out with what's going on, and of course try to engage allies. What was behind that video?
So I should have spoken up sooner. I think a lot of us are feeling that way. I should have spoken up for Eric Garner, and I should have spoken up when Colin Kaepernick took a knee. There's so many opportunities that I missed. And I'm not going to miss this time, because I feel like this is the time we have to speak up. And I think as white people, I think it's our problem. So I think we have to be the ones to step up and speak out and say stuff. And it goes past social media. That's like what I've been learning over the last week. I've been learning so much stuff about like redlining and different things that, the system of our culture that disproportionately, sets, Black and white people up. And I think that speaking up and speaking out is step one. And that's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to hopefully inspire other white people to use their voices and do what we can, because like I said, it's our problem and we need to be the ones to fix it. So.
Yeah, Andrew, and perhaps the problem, and I like to believe that there is always good in people, and at least that we try to be better human beings. But in terms of speaking out and speaking up about something like what we're experiencing right now, were you nervous? I mean, I'm sure you had to do some research, right? You couldn't just be like, oh, I'm going to set my camera up and label it "Dear White People" and just start talking. Like, you have to know exactly what you're talking about. Otherwise, I mean, things can turn to the worst.
Right. I was definitely nervous before I posted that video, because I kind of had to be like, what, I might lose a lot of my audience. I've spoken up about certain, humanitarian like issues before, but never something so direct. And so there definitely was that anxiety of like, well, there might be a lot of people that leave, but I didn't want to be a coward, and I didn't want to be somebody that didn't stand up for people that I love. And there's a lot of people within the Fat Tuesday fam that I was talking about, and they're, amazing Black people, and I want to stand up for them, and I want to show that support back to them, like they've shown to me. And I think that's for anybody, whether you have a large following or whatever kind of following you have. I think it's about showing that love to people, and I think that that's really what it is at the end of the day. And I wanted to do that, but it's not really even about like. It's not even really like, oh, good for Andrew for this is bare minimum. I think, I think we've got to do more. We have to, contact our local state, local, government to kind of change laws around how police departments are governed. We have to do things that that kind of get the system actually equal. And so I think speaking up and speaking out is the first part, but I'm not stopping here, and I don't think anybody else should either. It's not a trend, it's not a hashtag, it's a movement. And I think that we have to just keep that momentum going. So
absolutely. Yeah. No, well said, Andrew. Before we let you go, if there's someone right now that is sitting on the couch, hasn't worked out, hasn't moved a lot in the last couple months because they're afraid to, or really they just don't know where to start, what's your advice to them to start to get moving?
I think we all feel that way. I think you're not alone in feeling that way. And I think that the first little bit, it just sucks. Like the first bit is not going to be fun. And I think as long as you can just it's not going to be fun. Okay. So just like do the first week and just push yourself through, and eventually the habit will form. But if you're expecting to like love it after the first time, it's just get that out of your mind, and just you got to check a box like brushing your teeth or taking a shower, which hopefully everyone's still taking showers.
You're making some broad
and just kind
assumptions
of
here, Andrew.
yeah, oh well, true. And you know, just kind of put it on your list as one of those I gotta do it, and then later you can be motivated and inspired and everything else. But right now you gotta just get it done.
Amen to that. Andrew, thank you so much for stopping on by today. We really appreciate your message, your fun, and your poignant views on things. Thanks so much for hopping on in.
Thanks
Thanks,
for
Put the
Andrew.
having me.
information
Come
up on
on.
the screen for Andrew and the great stuff he does. Andrew Cole Smith on Instagram and on YouTube. Andrew Coleman Smith is his YouTube page. Andrew, so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, that first few steps is always tough. I go back and forth between being great at working out and then phases where I'm not. And
I know.
when I'm working out, I can't even imagine why I didn't. And when I'm not, I can't imagine doing it. Like, you've got to just like get those routines in and make those first few steps. So
Yeah, I like what he said. It's a ripping off the Band-Aid first.
For
Just
sure.
get to it.
Well, not only that, I feel like when I'm binge watching a show, I get so much more hungry. Like I just want to be, you know, doing something, I guess, and not just sitting. And so
yeah, walk
I
into
get a
the
snack, I get-
refrigerator, still walking. So there you go. We've been highlighting high school seniors who are graduating out of these in certain times and still moving on to bright futures ahead. So joining us now, Trejo, a graduate of Taft High School, soon to be, I should say, involved with many community organizations, member of the debate team. So you know I'm excited. And you're going to Yale. That's going to be our second Yale future student that we've been featuring. Tree, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Yay.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I see a lot happening behind you. Your pride for Chicago and the flag,
Yeah.
your Blue Line sign, your Yale sign, and your awards. You have really carefully set up a nice background for us here today. We appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
He's like, it's nothing. I do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I gotta say, congratulations. This
Thank
is
you.
huge.
Hey,
Tell
did you
us-
think? Oh, sorry, John. Did you think, Tree, that with everything that was going on, I mean, would you have had it any other way? I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, thank God I'm not graduating in 2020," and others are like, "No, this is a good part of a story, right? Of my story to tell." How do you feel about graduating?
I mean, I'm excited to graduate, and like, you know, like it is what it is, and I can't really change anything. But at this point, like I'm trying to make the most of it, and you know, go to my drive-through graduation, and like for the past few months, I feel like I've grown a lot from this pandemic, and I feel like I'm a stronger person now from this pandemic, and yeah.
Tell us about your drive-through graduation. What is Taft doing?
Yeah, so we're having a drive-through graduation at the Rosemont Theater. It's near O'Hare, and they're having 6 designated time slots for different like last name, and I'm from 11 to 12 p.m. at the Rosemont Theater. Details are TBD, but yeah, I just
Like,
know
are they
my
gonna-
times are around there.
Are they going to hand your diploma through a window? Like, how does it work with how that goes?
Well, for now, I'm pretty sure I just need to like only graduate can step off the car and snap a picture with the principal holding the diploma. I think 6 feet away. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's what's happening right now.
Hey, Tree, I gotta say, I'm a little jealous, okay? Because my graduation for high school was so long and so boring that I feel like you get to have your own little party in the car.
Yes, but I don't know, like it's just not the same, you know, because my sister also went to Taft, and I remember last year when I was sitting at her graduation, I was like dang, like that's gonna be me next year. But
Yeah.
now like here I am going through the drive-through graduation, you know.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
What are you most looking forward to now?
Well, since Chicago has moved on to like phase 3 of the reopening after the pandemic, I think I'm gonna spend some time with my friends before I leave off to college. And this summer, I've also had like the opportunity to work with the MICVA Challenge to be their summer fellows. So yeah, those are the
What's your
two
plans
things.
for Yale? What are you doing in the future? What are you
Yeah.
gonna
As for now, I'm thinking of majoring in political science and or economics. And yeah.
Hey, Tree, quick question, because I know this is something that I was thinking about when deciding on what college or university I wanted to go to. How did you know that you wanted to go out of state, that you wanted to go somewhere else? Because I went to DePaul here in Chicago. I wouldn't have changed anything. I loved it, but I kind of wish I would have allowed myself to think a little bit more about exploring other places.
Yeah. So from the start of the college application process, I did not apply to any school in Chicago. I knew I wanted to leave and put myself out there. So the only in-state school I applied to was the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. But yeah, like I only applied to like 5 schools in total, and 4 of them were out of state, and I was luckily accepted to all of them. But at the end, I felt like Yale was a good fit for me due to their like social justice oriented campus, and also a very diverse student body.
Yeah. What is it about the social justice part of everything that stands out to you?
Yeah. So about Yale or just like in general?
I guess you could cover both, but I meant specifically with Yale.
Yeah, so at Yale, they're located in like the New Haven area, which people stigmatize as a very dangerous area due to the due to the highly populated Black and Latinx community like population there. And so there has been a lot of like social justice work around the New Haven area to advocate for like the for underprivileged students. And also Yale has this special Yale Prison Project, which work to like reform the criminal justice system, which fits perfectly with the current tension that we're having in our society right now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to maybe joining.
Yeah, this is why this is going to be great for you, because you're like, we need your energy. Like he's
Yeah.
like, we're gonna tackle these issues and we're going to do it. Your energy is what's necessary right now.
Thank you.
Now, in terms of, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit, what we're experiencing right now, I think is a very important year for you to take this experience and how you're feeling to your future years of education. Have you started, I don't know, perhaps talking to people? I don't know if, you know, part of what you want to do is interviewing certain leaders to see what their thoughts are. I mean, have you been taking it, not, I don't want to say taking advantage of what we're going through, but learning and actively participating in what's going on?
Yeah, I recognize the importance of you know, like actively and civically engaging your community during this time. And so I have reached out to my like my school administration to like talk about this issue, because coming from the Northwest side, we're like 80% white. And so it's easy to ignore like the issues at hand when Black people are the minority. But I've reached out to my administration to like directly address this issue and give out resources for students to like educate themselves, because I've seen a lot of, you know, like ignorant stuff on the internet. And so I feel like the best way to address it is through like education and resources. Yeah.
You were on the debate team. Do you think that's prepared you for, you know, discussions with your fellow students, colleagues in the future?
I would like to think I do, but I don't know, like it's so intimidating. And like I know that I'm not even on campus yet, but I'm already having like this imposter syndrome, and everyone seems so smart, so accomplished. And I'm just here like, well, I'm just from like the northwest side of Chicago, you know, just here chilling.
Hey,
Trust me, you are fine. That imposter syndrome never goes away. You got to get over that, because trust me, Tree, and this is not only at Yale, this is for the rest of your life.
Everywhere.
Everybody's faking it. We don't know what we're doing. Adults don't know anything either. I was remembering watching Michelle Obama's documentary that she had out, that she's been in the room with world leaders and they don't know what's happening. So have confidence in yourself and know that you know as just as much as anyone else.
Amen.
Hey, Tree,
Yeah.
I want a picture of you walking through the Student Center with your Chicago flag and your blue line CTA sign, and you are walking like you own the place, okay? Because I wish someone would have told me that freshman year of college. I didn't have that confidence. I thought exactly, and you said it, and it reminded me of exactly what I said. Everybody else is so much smarter than me. Everyone, you know, deserves to be here, should be here, except me. And I want you to get that out of your head. Promise
Thank
me,
you.
promise me, promise me,
Yes.
because you have so much potential inside of you. You just have to, like John said, find it, explore it, and be confident.
Awesome. Absolutely amazing. So Tree, tell me where are we gonna take this next? I know you mentioned what you were gonna study, but ultimately, what would you like to be, and what role would you like to play in the world?
Ooh, yeah, like a lot of people have asked me, like, you know, like a lot of scholarship essays and a lot of like interviews have asked me, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And frankly, I do not know where I'm seeing myself, but as for now, I hope to, you know, like go to law school and maybe volunteer with like Teach for America, to like work with like underprivileged students, because as like a POC and like first gen student myself, I see a lot of problem with like our education system, and so I hope to be able to give back one day and work with and you know like bridge that education gap.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't rip
So
that blue
that's
line sign off the train or bus, did you?
no
You don't
comment.
have to answer that. Don't answer that. Don't
No
answer
comment.
that.
They replaced it. Don't worry. I'm
Oh
sure.
my God, you guys are gonna make me go get. I have an orange line one, but it's
Uh-huh.
between Tree and I. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be your own little secret. Hey, any plans this summer? Are you trying to relax? And now that we can start to see other friends, are you trying to see some other friends too? Or are you just all mindset on the fall?
Oh no, like I'm hoping to like hang out with my friends this well while following the CDC guideline, of course. Yeah, so I'm planning to like see some of my friends before I leave. And as I mentioned earlier, I got an internship with the MICPA Challenge in Chicago. And so I'm gonna be interning with like a local elective official. So yeah, that's the plan this summer. And just trying to save up some money before I go to college because college is expensive and
Yeah, you better
Yeah.
believe it. Did you get any scholarships going to Yale? Are you going to be, is that going to be able to help you out? Had you had any?
yeah, I got the Asian American Pacific Islander Fund, which gave me like 20K in total.
Oh,
Yeah, I know, so exciting. Such a relief. Yeah.
congratulations. That's great. I
Listen,
think you're on to really bigger and better things. I feel like you have a lot of pride in our city. And as Deanna mentioned, carry that pride with you when you go to Yale and
Yeah.
beyond.
If not, give us a call. We'll go and put people in their place. Okay.
Oh,
yes.
trust me, I will bring all of this with me to campus.
Yeah, and the CTA is going to follow you out there, and they're going to want their
Yep.
sign back. So, no, I'm just kidding. Thanks so much for joining us today, okay?
Thank you.
Good luck.
You too.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. Really, really cool. I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say it's just what a great what a great future leader for sure. Another amazing, inspiring student with an interesting story to tell and to bring out to the world.
Yeah. And you cannot tell me that this generation is not engaged.
No, oh, for sure, for sure. And that's the thing is that, and that's what we talked with Jonathan Swain about. So many of our young students are the ones that will be leading these initiatives, and they are the voices of the future. And I think we're in pretty good hands, so that's good.
John, can you fill us in on sharing our pride for
Absolutely. So in honor of the Stonewall Uprising, each June, Americans celebrate LGBTQ Pride Month. In recognition of Pride Month, CW26 and Aiken Law Office celebrating agents of change. And we want to hear and share your stories. So use the hashtag #ShareYourPrideChicago and tag us, CW26 Chicago, or send us your pride stories and pictures to jamreelshy@wciu.com. We're going to be highlighting your Pride Chicago all month long.
Yes, usually we're already celebrating, and of course we're looking forward to the Pride Parade, which I know.
It's
But
okay.
that doesn't mean that the sentiment has been postponed or the reason behind why we gather, why we try to raise awareness and why we celebrate together. That has not been postponed or quarantined or anything like that.
Yeah, and the
This is all
flags are
part
all
of a
still
bigger initiative.
Yeah, and it's the city is doing a great job as always, putting all the pride flags out, even though things are different and strange during these times. So we're still all filled with pride all year long, but we're still focusing on it here in June.
Got that right. Okay, let's welcome in our next guest, you guys. We've got Mchale Welch, who is joining us. You know him. He's a celebrity designer, but he's recently spoken out on everything that's going on, including what it's like to be a Black designer in America. But first, though, let's just check in with him, see what's going on, see if he has any new projects. Mchale, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing well, and you're so good to see you guys again.
Hey.
I love seeing you because you got that big barn door look in your New York place. It always just to remind everyone that, yeah, you know what you're doing when it comes to design.
And you have the long tie. You usually go for a bow tie. You usually have a bow tie brother. You went for a different look this time.
You know what? I decided to switch it up a little bit. You know, I don't get to put on many looks with COVID still going on. So any chance I can switch it up, I try to do so.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe.
You know, sometimes I'm so jealous because men can add on layers. Like, you know, I feel, Felicia, like as women, perhaps we can only do a necklace or something. You know, I might wear a bow tie tomorrow, who knows? But it's so much easier for you all to express and be a little bit more creative.
But I'll say this, we have to spend a little more money on our pieces. I can't go and get inexpensive shoes like a woman can pull off, because cheap shoes on a man.
That's actually really true.
Shut it down. Shut it down.
Trust me, I've got a lot of them I can show off. They're as cheap as can be. Mchale, I wanted to jump right in about your discussion that you were featured on People Magazine about what racism looks like to you as a Black designer, as a person on television. Obviously, people on TV, they aren't immune from the racism that exists in our world.
No, not at all. You know, I was very hesitant, honestly, to speak on that. You know, I've been on this show a couple of times, and you guys know, like, I try to have like a bubbly personality, and typically as like a television person, you're kind of taught to often avoid certain issues, you know, that have a connotation with like a political stance. But I felt like I had to be honest with myself. I went to go post like a pretty Instagram photo last Friday. And when I went to do it, my conscience just said, no, you have to say something. And in my head, I had told myself, you know what? You may lose a job. You're probably going to lose a lot of followers. But I said, you know, my life is more valuable than followers. And so I felt like I had an obligation, you know, as a Black man to speak up. You know, I'm not any different than the other Black men who walk down the street. You know, yes, I wear bow ties, but some days I have on a baseball cap, and, you know, I walk down the street just like any other Black man. And I, you know, a lot of times go through several microaggressions. And so I had to speak up.
You know what? It's very interesting that you point that out, because a lot of my journalism friends or on-air personalities, on-air talent have said, you know, we are taught to be unbiased, which obviously we are, but this isn't a matter of being biased or unbiased. This is a matter of standing up for a community, a specific person who's been oppressed for so long.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like it's one of those things where I feel like everybody has been forced to sit down now and have these hard conversations that would easily get swept under the rug. You know, I have a lot of people who are always like on my timeline, on my Instagram, because I have spoken out. I find myself in these back and forth dialogues with the All Lives Matter versus the Black Lives Matter. And, you know, I just really want people to know that, you know, I think that the biggest thing here is that countless lives have been taken, you know, over the past couple of years. And right now, the Black community is just screaming out. And we're trying to say, you know, our house is on fire. You know, I feel like we're on a residential street, and, you know, the other houses are doing okay, but we have a fire in our house, and we need somebody to help us put that fire out. So it's not a matter of us saying all lives don't matter. We're just saying right now, can you please put some water on our house because we need it?
Yeah. You said something big there, and that's what also brings me a little bit of hope in this time. You said, I was afraid. You said that you have to do this anyway, regardless of what's going to happen, if there's any backlash or, if it affects your pocketbook in any sort of way. You said that I still need to speak out and do this. And it does bring me a little bit of hope that companies are saying this. The media is saying this. It would have been, a few weeks ago where we weren't even using the term Black people on TV. We say minorities, people of color, we say urban, we say all these other code words, but no, we're saying Black people, Black lives, Black community has an issue. We're calling it out specifically. Companies are doing that. The media is doing that. And you're just a part of that conversation, not to be afraid, but to be bold in how we tackle this issue.
Yes, I think that's so important right now, is to say the word, like Black. It's a word, you can say it, it's fine. But it's like tackling it head on. So often, we don't speak out on things. And I am excited because I've had so many allies who are non-Black, white and other ethnicities reaching out saying, hey, you know what? I too have, I've participated in some of these microaggressions just from like locking my car doors when a certain Black man walks past me. And I think it's about having those hard conversations, owning it and saying, what can I do? Like, how can I step in and be a better ally, just to be a better person in general? And I will say in the design community, people have rallied together like never before. There's this big push in the interior design community where a lot of white designers have found African-American accounts that they really love and Black designers accounts that they love, and everybody's reposting each other's work. And so it's just good to see everybody rallying together and saying, hey, your work is amazing. You just weren't in my algorithm. And so now I'm excited to see it. So I'm glad in the design community, I can see there is a shift. It won't happen overnight, but it's a start. It's definitely a start.
When you had that feeling of being nervous about posting something on social media, was it because you are in an industry where we don't see a lot of Black designers, a lot of Black makeup artists, or was it because no one in that industry or in that community has actually spoken up about something like this?
I think it's a combination of both. Honestly, I was afraid to speak out. No one wants to be the first. I think about, I'll use the example like Colin Kaepernick. The world attacked him when he took a knee. And now we have protesters and everybody's like, oh my gosh, can we go back to the knee? So I think whoever steps out first and is that first person to make a stance, you always are, you're going to get hit hard. And so I was nervous about being on that front line. I didn't have a conversation with my manager. I just did that interview. Actually, my manager doesn't even know I'm having this conversation right now. She's probably going, what are you doing? But I felt like I had to do it. I am a Black man who graduated from Morehouse College, which is a Black institution. And I felt like, so many times I feel like people who grow up in quote unquote urban environments and they don't speak a certain way, they get grouped into a category. And I'll say I get grouped into that same category based upon how I'm dressed.
Yeah.
And so I say that to say, and that's why I wanted to bring up the point, like whether I'm dressed in a bow tie or a baseball cap, I'm still going to get grouped back into that same category. And so I felt like I needed to be that voice, because if not, it's almost as if I think that I'm better than because I can speak a certain way and I can dress a certain way. And it's like, no, at the end of the day, when I walk to my grocery store here, women clutch their purses. Like they don't know who I am. We're in the middle of COVID and you stack that extra layer of, now as a Black man, I have to wear a mask on my face. Mm-hmm. And so those are things that I think a lot of times, anyone who's not of color, you don't think about, those things, which affect us on a daily basis.
Yeah. You mentioned the clutching of the purses, a story that a lot of Black men share, but as a Black designer, you've had specific run-ins with police in terms of just doing your job.
Yes. As a matter of fact, when I was designing Chateau Sheree, she was in a very affluent neighborhood and I got pulled over by the police leaving her house. And I was asked, basically what I was doing, because I was leaving, it was in the evening. And I got pulled over and I was just asked, it was just like a general stop or routine stop. I'm like, okay, whatever. And, he said, well, what are you doing in this neighborhood? But there are countless incidents. I also have like the infamous stories of, I just did a big event in New York. I won't say what it is, but it's for a really big magazine. And it's a big gala. And I wore a black suit, and I will never wear a black suit again, because I was asked on 3 separate occasions if I could get someone a glass of champagne or another glass of wine.
Oh,
And
wow.
again, it's those many microaggressions that, people, they don't think a lot of times, or they assume. I've had situations at various show houses where people walk up to me and they'll say, excuse me, where's your restroom? And they use the word your restroom as if I work there. And there's nothing wrong with, working at, one of these venues, but the assumption is because I am probably one of few, they just assume often that you are on the staff. And it's difficult.
Yeah. You being a Black designer and in the art realm, I wanted to run this question by you. Justin Bieber came out on his Twitter this past weekend over the last few days and just basically had a nod to Black culture and noting the fact that he has benefited, his career has benefited, his art that he's produced has benefited from Black culture, and that he wants to be a part of the conversation moving forward and speaking up and being an ally of the Black community. Do you think that that is a step in the right direction? Would you like to hear from other people who are non-people of color who may have benefited from Black art as well, from Black life?
I am so glad you asked that question. I feel like that is something that is so imperative right now. I lived in Chicago as well for a little bit, and I lived in Streeterville. And I think about when I go to various restaurants in Streeterville and River North, and I walk in and they're playing like Tupac and Biggie, and there's not a single brown person in the room. I think those conversations have to be had. I think there is almost like a hijacking of Black culture often. Like, people are quick to, like, if you go to any nightclub, people are playing nothing but hip hop. And I think it's something that has to be addressed. I think, our culture, a friend of mine told me once, the quote that he said is, people like to visit, but they don't like to stay. And with that, I think people like to, take advantage of the culture, but they don't necessarily want to, embrace it as a whole. And so I think other celebrities do need to step up, and not even so much celebrities. I think it's really us stepping out as people and addressing it and like owning your part in it, just as an average person. When we do take advantage, or when people do take advantage of African American culture. I
Because
think
we've talked about that on this show, just cultural appropriation, and
yes,
why is it such a big issue that, we brought up Kim K wearing cornrows. Why
right.
is that a problem? Well, it's not really a problem. They look great when she wears them, but it's more so also care about some of the other issues that are going on. And we brought up understand where cornrows come from too.
Well, I think that's amazing. I think the conversation can go on in so many different directions, but I think it just opens things up, because I think about my world in design and just thinking about how we talk about diversity quite often, and it's just been ingrained in my head, where it's like, as a Black designer, I need to have a staff that looks diverse. And I was taught like I should probably have a white assistant, and just to make sure that my staff had a larger percentage of non-Black employees. And then when I look at the reverse of that, if it's a white designer and all of their designers on their staff are white, it's not talked about. But if a Black person has all Black designers, it's deemed a Black design firm. So it's kind of like that, it doesn't feel good,
It shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Yes.
What type of mentality do you have to have being in a community, in a world where perhaps certain individuals are scratching the surface on diversity, perhaps don't know certain things, and that's why they react the way they react? I mean, you have to have, at a certain point, you're like, again, like, you got to be kidding me. But then at some point, you got to be like, okay, let me try and educate, or let me try and understand where this is coming from.
Yes, I think you kind of have to have a level head in the sense that you kind of have to have it's a level of forgiveness on top of the fact that you already feel discriminated against. You still have to have a level of patience with the person that you feel discriminated against, just because a lot of times they don't know and they don't understand. And that's not an easy thing to do, because it is a re-education, which is not necessarily my job to do, but I feel obligated to do it. But I try to do things. I'm just thinking of like action, things that can be done in order to help. I just encourage my friends, like, and even your viewers now, like, it doesn't matter what industry you work in. Look at your corporate structure and, think about or really give a true assessment of the Black people that you have on your staff. Like, how diverse is upper management? Because that's where it starts. It always trickles down. And look at your leadership. Typically it's going to be like that one person that's on the staff, or one or two people. But people have got to begin to look at how their corporate structure is set up, and then also speaking out. Even if it's just water cooler talk, things that are not cool have to be called out. And because everything can't be done through celebrities. We can do more as a population, right there in our offices. And I think that's really where it starts, with your friends and at work, like calling.
Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there. We can't let you go without talking about Murder House Flip, because we've got some comments here about how they love it. They're obsessed with it. It ran on Quibi, 12 episodes. So season 1 is done.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to? Do you have any teasers for us about another season, or about what's next for you?
John, I'm not going to say anything because you want me to lose my contract. But let's just say I feel optimistic.
Okay.
No, what? Season 1, Murder House Flip it was very successful. This is the first time you've taken true crime and you've merged it with design. The ratings have shot through the roof. People are excited. And I can't wait. I'm praying for a season 2. And if you haven't checked out Quibi, you have to check it out. I am a very opinionated person, and I tell the people when they're nasty, because some of these people take showers in bathtubs where the bodies were chopped up. That's just nasty.
Yes, you got to get a new tub.
Yeah. Well, I just finished another true crime book, Mchale. So I got about 12 more addresses for you across LA, New York, wherever you need to go. So you let your producers know if there's season 2. If they need some new locations, I got some for you.
Okay, and I think you should come on the show with me.
Oh, I would absolutely love it. I would go a little crazy. I'll let you handle the design part. I'll geek out about the true crime stuff. Mchale, thank you as always for stopping on by. It's so great to chat with you, and great article and people. I think it really puts a lot of perspective on things. You can follow Mchale there on Facebook and on Instagram. Good luck, and keep us posted, okay?
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Bye. Care. Thanks. Really, really cool. Okay, guys, we'll keep things moving. Let me remind you about Job Hunt Chicago as we prepare for our next friend to join us. Job Hunt Chicago is a show that airs on the weekends, and you can catch it Saturday on the U at 10:30, as well as Sunday on 4:30 at Sunday on CW26 at 4:30 in the afternoon. And basically, it's a job fair. It's a job hunt. Okay, we've compiled all of the top employers in our area who are hiring right now. They're looking to expand their team right now. They need you. If you're that hardworking person that's looking for that next opportunity, you need to be checking out Job Hunt Chicago. And if you are an employer that has opportunity, head to jobhuntchicago.com, put in a submission so we can get your information out there, please.
Let's talk about your weather forecast. Already up to 83 degrees at O'Hare officially. That's pretty hot for 11:15 in the morning. Abundant sunshine, a few clouds here and there, but you can just see a real nice day downtown as we zoom out a little bit and show you more of Lakeshore Drive as more and more people head back to work here and there. Also, all the restrictions into downtown have been lifted earlier as they were yesterday. 91 degrees will be your high, but not too humid. The dew point right now is 53 which means it feels exactly what the temperature is. That is really good news. So even as we get to 91 degrees, it's not going to feel too stifling out there. 7-day forecast shows the remnants of Tropical Storm Cristobal making its way up the Mississippi. It'll impact our area, not as much as Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri, and Minnesota, Wisconsin, but we'll still get some rain out of this thing Tuesday night into Wednesday. You'll notice the rain. This is a giant low pressure system, obviously, as a former tropical storm, and we're going to get southerly winds up to 50 miles an hour during this storm as it passes west of us. But in its wake, we are left with sunny skies, comfortable temperatures, pretty much Thursday through to early parts of next week.
All right, friends, I feel like we've been having very important conversations, very specific conversations, and I am so excited to keep the momentum going. Let's go ahead and bring in Bree Specific. You may have heard her on Power 92. She's a millennial media personality, businesswoman, digital influencer. Bree, good morning, lady love.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you? What's going on? Tell us everything about your quarantine, about recent events. We want to hear it all.
Well, right now, I'm still on radio, so you can catch me on Power 92 every Sunday, 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. I've been up since 4 a.m. this morning. I produce the morning show as well. So it's already been a long day for me. Outside of radio, I'm an entrepreneur, so I have my own candle line. It's called Specific Scents. So besides me making candles and doing radio, I've just been really focusing on myself. Like, this is the most time I've had for myself in, I don't know, probably like 2 years.
Oh, wow. You've been grinding it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just glad I have the time to do it.
So how are you guys covering everything that's going on with the riots and the protests? I feel like, when you have this platform like television, if you're on social media, if you're on the radio, you also have to speak life into the community as well. Have you guys been covering that over at Power?
Over at Power, I think each personality, we individually, give our stance on it. I know for me, I take time to just encourage my listeners. It's been heavy. The past couple weeks has been really heavy, especially on the African-American community. And I just want to spread love, because throughout everything that's going on, I feel like love is the center of it all. Like, no matter your ethnicity, no matter the color, no matter your tax bracket, like, I shouldn't have to walk down the street and you view me differently because of the way I look or the way that, you've been brought up and I've been brought up a little differently. So my message personally when I'm on the radio is just, spread love, keep peace, and let's continue, especially rebuilding our community after everything that happened last week.
Yeah.
So now that's like the biggest thing right now. Let's economically get together and rebuild these communities for the better.
As a media personality, obviously you have such a platform. You talk about what you do on the show, but you personally, you've been able to join some of the protests. I've been wearing a mask and watching someone go by too. I think it's important for a lot of us to take part in these things.
Yes, it is, especially the peaceful protests. I feel like it doesn't hurt, to show support. Support is free. I always say support is free. I don't think that it hurts to show support. I think even if you go outside and stand on your porch and you just observe that the protests go by your house, or even if you make a post or retweet something, retweet a influential picture or something that you're seeing, I think every little bit counts, because you never know what type of awareness you're spreading to help make a positive change. So I know I protested last week. I went to a peaceful protest. We marched on the south side from 47th and Cottage to Hyde Park, and it was peaceful. Some police were there, but no riots, nothing. That's the type of thing that I want to be a part of.
Are you from Chicago?
Yes, west side of Chicago.
Oh, a West Sider. What high school?
I actually went to Lane Tech.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, I wanted to go to a public school really bad, and my parents were like, either Lane Tech or Whitney Young, or you're going to private school. So I went to Lane Tech.
Oh, nice. I know that school very well. And so with everything that's going on, like, what do you feel like could be the next step for our city? I know that's a loaded question, but I appreciate your perspective being a Chicagoan.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with my coworker this morning, actually. The hardest part, I think, is there's no one solution. Because it's like, okay, we're dealing with inequality, and then we're dealing with rebuilding our community because of the looting and the riots, and then we're dealing with a whole nother issue with defunding CPD and on top of COVID-19 and trying to get our kids back into school and figuring out summer school and college. Like it's so many topics. There's not one real solution. I think I haven't dug too deep into defunding the police department, but I do know a lot of other aspects of society were defunded as far as like arts programs and having YMCAs open for the kids, like programs that I had growing up in Chicago, like After School Matters and things like that. There has been a lot of funds and a lot of access taken away from those programs. And I think it all goes back to us having to rebuild for the generation that's coming after us. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, I really think that if we're giving $6 billion to CPD, maybe there's a little leeway somewhere that we can, start making programs for the next generation so that they're more comfortable with living in society. I don't want to have children and they have to go through the same things that I'm going through right now, having to protest and having to feel like they're not equal to their counterparts or equal to the person that they're working with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're an important voice on air and part of your community, but you're an important voice for the four of us right now because we're going to dive into a little deep dish topics. You ready to have some fun?
Let's talk about it.
All right. So one of the questions that came up on Ask Reddit, I'm a big Reddit fan, and they have these great questions. And someone posed the question of you wake up in your bed and you're only 12 years old. Everything since then was just a dream. So you have that knowledge of your older self. If you're 12 and you wake up but you know everything about the future, what are you doing differently as you relive your life from 12 on? What would you tell your 12-year-old self to do a little bit differently? We're getting deep here.
This is going to sound so bad, and I don't mean it in a negative way, but I probably would not go to college because of student loans.
Hey.
Hey.
One thing, that's such a pet peeve of mine, having to pay student loans. Or maybe I'll go for I can't just say I'll go for something that will pay itself off. But yeah, student loans is a no-go for me.
Wow, that speaks to another issue, of course, education is good, but if student loans is having the effect that it's having in your life now, you do question whether or not it is worth it. Yeah. My 12-year-old self, honestly, I think I would tell myself to relax and have more fun for sure, because I was such a serious student, particularly at that age. Closer to college, I got a little, I got a little bit more loose, but particularly with high school, that age, I was just such a serious student and about my business, which I do think is a positive, but as with everything, you need balance. And so to have that balance where you're still having fun, still enjoying, you don't get that time back. So I think you need more of a balance in order to move forward.
That's a good one. Deanna, anything specific you'd be telling yourself?
I'm literally thinking about this. I think I would have let myself explore a little bit more, right? Not necessarily go with what I think is right or what I think I should be doing. You guys know my story. I wasn't necessarily all in for journalism at the beginning of my education because it wasn't something that I talked about with my family. It wasn't something that they were like, yeah, go be a reporter. So I think I would have allowed myself to explore a little bit more and ask questions and be engaged. And I don't know, perhaps things, I'm not saying I wanted them to turn out differently, but you have that knowledge in the back of your head that you can be like, hey, this is what something else would have looked like too.
Yeah. I really like that one. What about you, John?
I would have come out earlier. I waited till after college and it was all worked out okay and everything was fine, but I wish I had, I don't know, just been my true self a little bit younger in life. It's all worked out great and everything happens for a reason. But if I would have known how wonderful my family, my friends, coworkers, everyone at the time would have taken it, I would have come out in college. That would have been a little bit more fun.
Yeah. So you did come out in college, and I love that you were so open with this story. Oh, it was after college. I thought it was during. Okay. I love that you're so open and share this story. I was going to say, you feel like in high school it would have been received well.
Yeah, maybe not. It was different because even in high school, back when I was in, people still made fun of the kids that were out, including myself. I did the same thing, which is just so embarrassing to admit. I'd say college, though, would have been the time to do it when you kind of.
I think that's a good time, too.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to ask you also, we're talking about other, interesting topics, the idea of what if Google, this is an interesting question, if Google was a dating site, not any of these apps, and it matched people together based on their search histories, Bree, would you be worried about your search history being what would determine who your partner would be on a dating app?
I just can't even imagine who Google would connect, because I Google like the wildest things.
Well, tell us a couple.
So I love dolphins. So I Google a lot about I can't swim for anything in this world, but I love just watching and reading about dolphins. I read about dolphins. I read about zodiac signs a little bit because I can't get into it, but it's when I see it on Twitter so much about astrology, it makes you want to say I'm a Scorpio. So I read my zodiac, not other people's. Other than that, I Google a lot of hairstyles, and I probably wouldn't want anybody that's into hair. So
Yeah, but you'd find a dolphin person. That would be really great. You guys could bond over your love of dolphins.
yeah, I'm with the dolphins. Now the hairstyles is enough.
Guys, I have a confession. Every time I Google something, I have to close it out right away because I get nervous if someone takes my phone and opens up Safari.
What are
and
you
Googling?
Googling?
No, it's just
Yeah, what are you Googling?
Girl.
no. Wait, let me explain. Because if I have if my nail is hurting or if I have a pain on the side of my rib or something, I will Google it and I will look everything up. And the person that it would link me up with would probably be someone that's as paranoid as me. Can you imagine two paranoid people? I self-diagnose myself.
Yeah. Or maybe you would get a doctor who would come in and change your life, honey.
Say less.
You don't even have to Google anymore. He'll fix you.
I mean, I'll do oh my gosh, too much hair fell out when I was detangling today. Let me see what that means. That's me. That's crazy.
Now, Amy and Felicia always show me what they're Googling, and I always think that they shouldn't do that on the work Wi-Fi. Felicia, what do you... Well, you guys, anytime there's a new trend in the porn industry, you guys are watching those videos on your phones. That's all I'm saying. You Google
That's
that,
actually true. Yeah, that's actually true. I have looked that up at work. So I'm thinking about all the places I have traveled or I want to travel. I'm looking that up a lot. I'm always looking up food and recipes. I'm looking up a lot of these restaurants in quarantine to see who's actually open and who delivers. I wouldn't be concerned about showing my my search history, but I would. It is telling. I think it really is telling what people end up getting into.
Bree, I'm married, and thank goodness, because I Google true crime stuff all the time. They would have paired me up with a murderer. I would have been gone long ago. Let me tell you, the things that I research about serial killers and crazy stuff, I would have dove way too in. I would have been in real trouble, Bree.
I literally just looked mine up now. So I looked up a church in New York City. I looked up Mary Kate and Ashley now. Prosecco Chicago, which is a restaurant here. Louis Vuitton purse. What's the true definition of rebuke? Aisha Curry Red Table Talk. These are some of my recent Google searches. Just random stuff.
Yeah. Well, Bree, luckily we don't have to pair people up based on Google searches. Where can people catch you and listen to you? Because we want to hear more from you.
Oh, you can catch me, Power 92.3 FM or power92chicago.com. Every Sunday, 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. I love that picture. Thanks.
I know. Look at you.
You are amazing. I love it. If you want candles, you can catch me, specificscents.com. I do expedited shipping.
Oh, she's a businesswoman too.
I saw, as everyone was posting about Black-owned businesses, I saw someone do a candle thread on Twitter. I didn't scroll through the whole thing, but hopefully you're on there, Bree. We all got to support each other, no matter what.
Yes, no matter what.
Amen. Bree, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
See you later.
Take care.
Really
hey
cool.
guys, candles, I can't wait to check out Bree's, but candles I didn't realize are so expensive. I used to get mine from Marshall's for maybe $6.99, and I tried to order one online and it was $23. I'm like,
oh yeah. Oh, I miss I miss Marshall's and TJ
Marshalls
Maxx.
and girl, June 15th. It's in my calendar.
Oh, did they announce? Oh, okay.
You're a fan. I'm a fan.
All right, so let's bring in our next guest from the show Too Hot to Handle, Kells Dyke. Not too happy after a co-star showed support for Black Lives Matter, and he had a lot to say about that. It's going to be an interesting discussion. Let's bring in Kells right now. Kells, you're joining us, and thanks for hopping on here this morning.
Hey, are you okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. The show, Too Hot to Handle. Obviously you felt the need to speak out, but first thing first, tell us about the show, Too Hot to Handle. What's it all about?
And basically, it's just a number of hot people on a resort. Just trying. First, we think it's just a normal, nice holiday, but then obviously comes with a plot twist. All of us.
So even if you haven't seen that specific show, you know the type of show. I'm glad you were able to say it's a bunch of hot people together. I didn't feel comfortable saying that.
But no,
the promo for the show on Netflix is amazing. I mean, every time I'm going to click it, I'm doing a series of other shows, but I cannot wait to just binge that one because the promo is actually quite intense.
You know what? The trailer was my favorite part, actually. I remember when I first saw it when it came out, and obviously there's a bit of a naked scene there with me, and I was shocked when I first saw it because I watched it with my family. But it was amazing. I loved it. I was excited immediately I saw it.
Yeah. Where are you quarantined at right now? Of course, we hear your accent, which we absolutely love.
I'm in London at the moment.
Nice. And so the show is based in London, I imagine. And what's the goal? I guess I want to say, what's the goal of all these hot people coming together?
So the show was actually filmed in Mexico. So the main market for Netflix was obviously US and the rest of the world. There were 3 people from the UK, people from Australia, Canada, the US. I'm missing out anyone. I think that's about it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just basically all of us coming in, and suddenly there's a twist. We're not allowed to mingle. We're not allowed to kiss. We're not allowed to have any sexual intercourse. If you do, there'll be penalties. So there's a 100K prize fund. And then for every single thing that you do, there'll be money deducted. And believe me, it's not cheap.
Oh my goodness. What if you signed up for something like this?
Some things are worth it, though, I gotta say. So we gotta talk about this beef you had with a former star of the show, or at least something you call out, because he had a Black Lives Matter post that he posted, and you kind of took umbrage. Walk us through what happened.
Actually, basically, it was me and Dave kind of spoken about it now. It was the fact that I used that photo without my permission, for as a post. I understand what he was trying to say. He was obviously trying to say that he's stand by side, which was his caption. But I felt like there would have been a better picture to have used, which I asked him to obviously take off, and he kind of just tormented from there, really. I think it's definitely a different way to show support. I kind of felt that I was being used as a prop, and I spoke to him about it, and that was what it's about. I didn't realize he was gonna catch news this much, to be honest.
I think it's really interesting to see the amount of people, just going off of your Instagram, when you posted your poem called "What Do You See?" A lot of people were saying to you, like, hey, thank you so much for speaking up, for speaking out. This is something that I needed. I mean, and you're saying, like, did you know it was going to take a positive toll on people this large?
Do you know what? Honestly, I didn't. It's still, we've been in lockdown, right? So obviously the show's come out. I'm still trying to get to grips with the fact that people actually obviously listen to what I have to say and stuff like that, and people take that on board. For me, the reason I started writing the poem is because I faced racism as I was growing up. So as all this thing was happening, I kind of wanted to express myself, but express myself in the right way. So I was kind of getting worked up the fact that I didn't know what to do, because one of those things is that it's not about being aggressive. It's not about bringing out confronting people. It's all about delivering a message in a way that people can understand. And usually the best way to understand something is through empathy. So next thing you know, I started writing, and I haven't written a poem since I was in school. And I started writing about my experience. I started thinking about racism and inequality, and start picturing the chain around the neck. But I didn't want it to be that graphic. I wanted it to be something that anyone from any race could read and understand, while still being able to express how most people would feel when being in that kind of situation, really. I think everyone's protesting, everyone's trying to voice their opinion. Sometimes the best way to have a positive impact, to make a change, is you're putting something out there that a lot of people, regardless of what background or culture you're from, can absorb and understand.
John, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear it. Sorry, Felicia, you must have lost the audio there for a second. Kels, I wanted to, have you had a conversation with David since all this has happened? Have you guys come to some sort of understanding on this or no?
Yeah, we spoke. Actually, it's funny you said that. We spoke yesterday about it, and he kind of apologized for it. He understands where I'm coming from. It's the thing where he was educated from it, and my I wasn't planning to, like, I never called him any a racist or anything like that. It
Right.
was just pretty much that the ignorance and not knowing that how I portrayed that picture and the caption used wasn't appropriate. Using me in a photo with him where we're in a pool in a hotel, that doesn't show support for the Black Lives Matter movement. There could have been other things. And I educated him about that. I said to him, if you really wanted to show your support, for example, we could have done, if you posted a photo of myself and yourself while we're at a protest, that's a completely different story. And he understood that. And, we kind of made up from that, really.
Mhm. I'm just curious of what your experience with racism is like in London. We know this Black Lives Matter, hashtag, which turned into an organization about 6, 7 years ago out on the West Coast of the US, and it has now gone global, obviously. So I'm curious to learn a little bit more about your experience with racism in London. I know as far as the police there don't carry weapons, correct? They don't carry guns, that is. So I can imagine maybe that's not, and I'm asking, maybe that's not 100% a fear that you have being killed by police like we would here in the States. But what is your experience like there?
I'll be quite honest. I haven't really faced that much racism in the UK. I was born in Austria, so obviously back then, there was a lot of different times. So I faced a lot of things there growing up in school. When I was 14, I then came to the UK, and it's kind of interesting to understand the contrast between growing up in the US and being in the UK, where I don't. It's not a thing where the UK police are racist or whatever or anything like that. I think it's just individuals, and I've never really had a thing where it's a police thing. It's an individual thing, right? And that's how it's been like for me. I know there's certain in the US you have that mindset that you have to work twice as hard because of your skin color, for example. It's been kind of weird because here I've never understood it, but it's never been something that's been in the back of my head. For me, in everything I do, whether it's sports, school, whatever, I always do 100%. And I feel like the reason for that is from growing up where the numbers and the grades, they can't lie. So even if people might be subjective as to how they feel about you, my performance is something that could be measured. So I always try to push on that front to try to be the same like everyone else.
Because yeah, as a Black American, I mean, you touched on it right there. We're always taught you have to be twice as good to get half of what the rest of the world has. And I feel like I had a different experience growing up Black here in the United States, where it is something that I think about all the time, being Black in America and how it affects me. I think about it all the time, and certainly I feel like has permeated every aspect of my life. And I think that there are a lot of Black Americans who can relate to that as well, which is one of the reasons why our country is rioting and protesting, I think.
I completely understand that. And I think until I start seeing, because now social media is bringing it all up to front and showing all the things that are happening in the US back to back, it started making me realize the things that's actually going on over there. And it's completely different. It's not as extreme as it is over here. But when I see some of the videos of like things that are happening to other Black people, it kind of, it's a bit terrifying, and I can understand why people are the way they are and why people are kind of scared. Normally the police, when we normally say that, are seen as people that keep up justice and stuff like that. But in the videos I've seen, as I said again, individuals have not really done the department justice at all. And I can understand why most Black people feel the way they do and protest the way they do. Absolutely.
With your interaction in terms of calling someone out who maybe stood for BLM and that necessarily didn't talk the talk and walk the walk before then, what has the response been from people? Have people been like, yeah, I'm glad you called someone out for that? Have you heard any pushback?
No, do you know what? I've had a lot of people talking about that. Look, I'm glad you spoke up about it. A lot of people need to be doing stuff like that. And one of the main things I wanted to do, it wasn't just about, pointing fingers. I've also, in the meantime, used my platform to spread information about good charities that, working with Black communities, working with, Black History Month, people that are educating other Black people about the history and the things that we've all done and achieved, really. So I'm trying to just use my platform as a voice for everyone else.
You know what, Kells? I think it's very important that you bring up the fact that you were like, it's not about pointing fingers, it's about having this conversation. And we've talked about this week on the show, or last week, where it starts maybe with a discussion between another person who perhaps doesn't know what Black Lives Matter is or what it stands for. And then you have the opportunity to teach that person, whoever it is, really what the reality behind what they're saying is. So I'm saying, without maybe that discussion that you had, or that, you know, argument, or whatever you want to call it, perhaps we wouldn't have taught something to someone that was following that.
I agree. I think that's what it is. It's one thing I've realized through all this, right? It's not a black versus white thing. It's a revolution against right versus wrong. And I think that's one of the things. It's not just about pointing fingers, it's about educating people so that people understand, because you can't blame someone, you can't have a grudge against someone that didn't know any better, because all our experiences and the way we think and things we say is all based on the way we've grown up and the experience we've had, you know, in our environment.
I gotta ask, you play football, and when I think of a Londoner playing football, I think of what we call soccer, but you play American football in London. Is that sport gaining a lot of popularity? Obviously, the NFL has been playing there. Our Bears played there last year. What's it like playing football in England?
Yes, it's definitely getting a lot of popularity. In fact, just now I was training, which is probably why you can see me sweating up right now. It's like I was actually outside.
Questions aren't that tough. So.
Yeah, do you know what? They're not. But I jumped in the shower quickly after my workout because we might be having a friendly. But it's amazing. We won the league. I played for the London Warriors. We won the league last year, and we're reigning champions. Actually, FL Butter, who plays for the Carolina Panthers, came from our team as well, who's now playing in the States. So it's definitely getting a lot bigger. I know that Jacksonville Jaguars are have built a stadium with our soccer team, Tottenham, to start bringing up more games over here. But it's amazing. Every time we have, like, I think last year was the Cardinals versus the Rams, and they played in the UK, and the stadium was packed. So it's definitely growing a lot more popularity. And we also have European games. A lot of countries in Europe are playing as well.
That's really cool. And it won't be too long, like you're saying, Jacksonville's heavily invested in London. It won't be too long before I think we have a franchise there permanently. Kells, thanks for sharing your story. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
He could come sweat on our show anytime. Anytime.
Quite appropriately. Too hot to handle. Kells, there you can find his information there on Instagram. Take care, man. Thank you.
Take care. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye.
Also love calling a friendly. I like that.
I know, right? I wasn't going to say anything, but you know.
So great. Chicago Food to Go is a show that airs on the weekend, celebrating all of our great restaurants that are still available for takeout, delivery, and patio service. So, this weekend we got another special episode coming up. But most importantly, not only watch it, but contribute. If you've got a favorite restaurant, look, you don't have to be a professional photographer to be a part of the show. Take some video of your food, of your friends going, this tastes good, and where you're at. And guess what? We're going to feature you on TV. So our main airing is Sundays at 4 p.m. on CW26. We got some Saturday times as well. But join in and be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're ready for our next friend to bring in, guys?
Yeah. I'm ready.
Let's bring her on in. Okay, let us welcome Julia Garcia. Julia Garcia, she's actually a young lady, and she's featured on the show Sydney to the Max. And her character is known, I think, as it looks like as Emmy. So let us chat with her a little bit of what she has going on with the show, of course, and everything else that she has going on as well. Look at this. I know.
Julia, you're sideways.
You're flipped.
Yay!
There we go. Oh, but I can't hear her. Can you guys hear her?
Let's see. Julia, do you have audio on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen?
Yeah, if you got a bottom left. I don't think she's able to hear us. We'll try and work this out. While we do, I'm going to do a weather report.
Okay.
Because I forgot to do one beforehand anyways. So we got temperatures In the mid 80s already. We got pretty low dew points, all things considered, so it's not very humid if you step outside the door today. Abundant sunshine throughout the day, some passing clouds here and there, but we are well on our way to 91 degrees today. Wouldn't be surprised if the south and southwest suburbs get a little bit warmer than that. A little bit cooler near the lakefront, but we don't have too much of a breeze, a southerly wind about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Things change tomorrow. We get a lot of humidity in the air, and this is the head of a tropical system, Cristobal, that we've been hearing about in the Gulf, as it makes its way through the Midwest, really the plains, and it's going to clip the Great Lakes with rainfall. That's us. Tomorrow night through Wednesday, we're going to notice the winds, though. It's going to be up to about 50 miles an hour. Rain continues Wednesday, cooler temperatures, and then after that, we are left with high pressure, which means drier, cooler air, and abundant sunshine. No complaints here starting on Thursday.
Okay, let's see if we can get our guest back, Miss Julia Garcia, who plays Emmy on Sydney to the Max. Julia, can you hear us?
Can we hear you? Hello?
We're hearing that she's having some technical difficulties.
We got the thumbs up, so we got halfway there, which is important.
Julia, just start holding up signs. We'll ask you yes or no questions.
Right.
No, yeah, we unfortunately don't have her microphone right now. If you look in that lower left, Julia, you might be able to see a button that says how to do the microphone. That might help you out just a little bit. But that's part of the joy. We almost got through an entire show, guys, without any Zoom issues.
I know, I was a little surprised. I was like, wow, no technical difficulties today.
Right.
So apparently this show is pretty big on the Disney Channel. And one thing that recently has become a topic of discussion is Julia's character, Emmy, was diagnosed. She has ADD. And that's being talked about on the episode with kids and teens and what that looks like in kids and teens having ADD. I think we can all appreciate in this climate the importance of talking about mental health and, being diagnosed and what that means, what kind of stigma is carried with that. Seems certainly like an important conversation, which hopefully we'll be able to talk to Julia about.
Yeah, Julia, can you hear us now? No, I don't think we're able to work this on out. Hey, let's, sorry, I'm just reading from our producers.
That connected to audio. Are you there? Oh, okay. Sorry, I got hopeful.
It's interesting. We talk about shows like this that really break barriers, and we still have a lot of different barriers to break. But I think that's what's so important about pop culture taking on, whether it's ADD, whether it's LGBT, whether it's Black, whatever it is. These shows really do permeate through pop culture and really do help their viewers have a better view of what's happening, whether it's kids watching or adults.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I heard this interesting question on a podcast I was listening to. When is it too soon to start talking about mental health, to start talking about race to children? And I mean, I don't know. I don't have any children, but I can't imagine for the parents. It's kind of difficult, right? When do you tell your Black son that he may be seen differently, or when do you start having those conversations when there is a mental health aspect of day-to-day life that you have to talk about? And I think that's a hard conversation to have, but I don't know, I feel like it's never too soon as long as the child understands. I don't know.
No, I think that's an important conversation. You have to know your child. And I think, you can gear these conversations to age specific. My best friend, her nephew, they were wondering whether they should take him to a protest or not. He's 8 years old. And she and I felt like, of course you should. Mm-hmm. This is the time where you start educating children. But, obviously we know every parent has a right to make the decision that they feel is best for their kid. I can imagine it could be tough topics, but there's so much conversation and dialogue out there, particularly about some of the protests, some of the things that are going on in regards to race relations within our country. So, I mean, right now there's so much dialogue out there. I think parents have a lot of different tools that they can certainly seek to help them formulate those conversations and have healthier conversations in their homes, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the good part is that the shows kind of help you with that a little bit. You know what I mean? Like certain shows will talk about certain things that you could just be like, here, watch this. Mm-hmm. And it'll teach you.
Yeah. So it looks like we won't get Julia back, but the show still goes on. John, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I don't know if you guys saw the story of Elmer Fudd making news. Anytime Elmer Fudd makes the news, we got to talk about it. Looney Tunes is relaunched as HBO Max as part of that. But the character, one key difference is and I can actually show here a little bit of this, he is not using that gun to catch the rabbits anymore. He is using a scythe. So the editors, the animators must have gone through and either changed old ones or any of the new ones they did. He is chasing the rabbit with a scythe instead of a gun. And I gotta know, do you guys think this is political correctness run amok? Is it important not to show guns to shows that kids are watching? I mean, it's clearly a hunting show. It's not about, I don't know, this one's tough for me.
So my first response is my first response is like, oh, this is too much. They're trying to censor everything. Just leave the cartoon and be traditional, leave it be as it is. But then the second response, when you really sit down and think about the images that we send to our children and the images that we put out there in the world and how we have all these rated R movies and these violent video games and we have the violent music on our radio, we are desensitized to violence in this country, particularly with our children. When we look at all this violence that I think happens on the South and West side, yes, it's systemic. It's a lot of factors that play into it. But I think one of them is the lack of respect for human life. And I do think the media and the images portrayed in it is something that is part to play.
I think you have, go ahead, Deanna, sorry.
I don't know, two things. One, I think you have to think about, and I completely agree with you, Felicia, but I think we also have to think about who's watching those shows, right? When we think of younger generations, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't even know. I wouldn't be able to tell you if my brother even knows what that show is because he's not watching that anymore. You know what I mean? I feel like those are classics and those are things that we go back to, like our generation and older. And then also, not to kind of get off topic, but I think a machete, or what did you call it, John? I had to look up that word. Yeah, I had to look up what it was, but that's much more scary to me. I'm scared of machetes, okay? That looks terrifying.
Yeah, it's what the angel of death walks around with. Like,
you can't just swap it with something like that.
I agree with the sentiment. I think this goes too far. Number one, of course, all human life matters, and teaching kids, about, gun war, that's bad. But it's a bunny, it's a rabbit, it's a hunting thing. Right. And, hunting is still a part of our culture, whether you like it or not. I think kids are able to tell the difference. I don't think someone watches a Looney Tunes cartoon and then goes and buys a double barrel shotgun and, is out on the streets with it. I think I don't want to say it distracts from it, because there's some real serious discussions we need to have about maybe video games. Although research after research shows that kids, even though they're exposed to violence on TV and video games, there isn't necessarily a correlation to violence that then happens in our neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Period.
I don't know. Bring back the original.
Yeah. Hey, we were just talking to Kells about a dating show that he was on, and this has kind of come up in other conversations too, about diversity in our dating shows here in the United States. I think some of the more Netflix-centered ones have done better, like Love is Blind, but some of the shows on mainstream, Bachelor, Bachelorette, they've been criticized in the past just for not representing, what this country really looks like, and I think it's fair criticism.
I do too. I mean, we just had the first Black Bachelorette, or even Bachelor too, a few years ago, and that's been the only one since the show has been airing on television. And I think also being able to portray other cultures on TV is not just necessarily about skin color, which I think is a part of it, but other cultures as well. I'm not a huge fan of the Bachelor, Bachelorette, just because I don't feel like it portrays my culture. I don't feel like it portrays what I'm interested in. So I'm just kind of automatically out.
I don't know. I can't believe that we're still having these conversations. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe that we live in such a beautiful, diverse city, for example, Chicago, and we still cannot see ourselves represented on reality TV shows. I, for one, am not a fan of reality TV shows, but like Felicia, maybe I would be if I could feel like I would relate a little bit to it.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, by the way, this was Rachel Lindsay who was launching this criticism, and she was the first lead on one of these shows. And I was shocked. We were just talking a couple of weeks ago. Well, it was probably a couple of months ago at this point.
First and only.
I couldn't believe that there hasn't been a Black Bachelor. And there was a lot of discussion about, I think it was Michael Johnson versus Pilot Pete, who was going to be that last season. And nothing against Pilot Pete, but I think that this is why these shows I don't want to say they've waned in popularity because they haven't, but Love is Blind, for example, different, did have some diverse cast members, and I think people really gravitated towards it because of that, not only because of its different format, because of its representation of many different cultures.
1,000%. And I like how Love is Blind. I just felt like it spent so much more time with these people in their personal lives. I know The Bachelor, Bachelorette does a few episodes like that towards the end of the season. But they spent so much time where I guess I felt like I got more of a cultural aspect and understood better where these people come from, what kind of families they come from, and how that plays into their dating life as well, compared to Bachelor, Bachelorette. It's interesting.
I know. I'm going to be so honest. When I was watching Love is Blind with my mom, I was like, Mom, look at what Mark's mom is saying. That would have definitely been you had I been on the show. That would have been you. That would have been you.
Yeah. Oh, man. Dee, do you think you would ever do a show like that, like Love is Blind? Because we know that they're about to cast in Chicago.
You know what? I think maybe just to see, just for the experience, but after like that whole commitment thing, like marrying someone, you know what I mean? I don't even know.
Okay,
like,
she ain't gonna be on the show. You gotta really fall in love and get ready to get married. That's the whole.
But I believe that love comes from the two aspects, right? Knowing someone and what their values and also having that attraction and seeing them face to face.
Yeah,
I don't think that you can have one and not the other.
We had a really interesting comment on our Facebook page about the discussion of diversity on these shows. It was from Veronica, and she says that diversity that no one really speaks of are people behind the camera, executives, PR reps, producers, etc. And we talked about this with Leon and Kendra last week. The idea of having decision makers be diverse. I think if you had diverse decision makers, we wouldn't have gone this long on The Bachelor and Bachelorette without having a black person as the lead in these shows.
That's so true. Like you said, in the decision-making positions. And that's how we lead to get these companies, you know, like Gucci and Forever 21 that have these big PR gaffes, you know, that go global, and these mistakes that they make because you don't have these diverse teams. So it's clear how important and how vital that can be to your organization when you do have that diversity, not just represented in front of the camera, but also represented behind.
And one last comment before we get to what's happening tomorrow, going back to the Elmer Fudd thing. Carol says, think about what Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner did to each other. Yeah, that's pretty violent stuff. It doesn't matter what weapon you're using. He was blowing them up with TNT.
I wonder where it's going, because all of those cartoons, they have to change with the times. You know, they used to have sometimes a racist language that's used within, and they've edited those out and they've taken those episodes out. So, you know, you got to change with the times too.
All right, that does it for today. What we got coming up tomorrow, ladies?
Oh, a whole bunch of fun. So at 10:30, we are talking to actor, writer, and husband to Tiffany Amber Thiessen, who we love. We're going to be speaking with Brady Smith, you guys. He's going to be chatting all the things that he's working on right now.
Absolutely. And then at 11:15, we chat with Dr. Evan Anton, America's sexiest animal expert and exotic wildlife vet. Look at him.
He is cute. He has really good bone structure.
I know, right? I don't have anything else to say.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. We're going to be chatting about his new book and new pet product line.
He's certainly prettier than Joe Exotic, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, definitely.
On that note, have a great Monday. We'll be back Tuesday. News at 9. Fun at 10. Ciao, ciao.
Bye, y'all.
Ciao, ciao. Who says that?
Ciao, ciao.